friends, and welcome back to another video from my series Quick Thoughts On, in which I always talk about different stories from the rich Star Trek universe. 30 years and a bunch of weeks ago, the next episode of Star Trek The Next Generation premiered. It was called Tin Man, and these are my honest opinions about it. This episode has one pretty big problem. They start something and go nowhere with it. For example, right in the beginning, the Enterprise is being joined by the USS Hood. The captain starts a friendly conversation with Picard and Riker, almost like he's going to be an important part of this episode. But no, he's just in this one scene, even though the Enterprise would definitely need support from a second ship during this episode. This was the first appearance of the problem I just mentioned. They started something and went nowhere with it. The Hood has delivered a specialist to the Enterprise, a Betazoid man named Tem Elbran. Riker and the others seem to know Tem and not like him, because he caused death of several Starfleet officers. And if you think that this hatred goes nowhere, you are absolutely correct. And Deanna knows him too, and tells the others his big secret. Tem was in a mental hospital. So what? How is the fact that he was in a hospital relevant to the story? You guessed it, it goes nowhere. Tem is a special Betazoid. Usually, Betazoids gain their telepathic powers as they grow older, but he was born with all of the powers, meaning that during his whole childhood he was bombarded with thoughts of all of the people around him, and that's the reason why he ended up in a mental facility. And that's also the reason why he likes to work on missions where he can be alone. And yes, they do absolutely nothing with this pretty interesting character depiction. They just use it as an excuse for him being slightly rude to the crew and for his decision in the end of this episode. His powers are also the reason why he immediately befriends Data. He's fascinated by the fact that he can't read him. So now the mission specialist is on board. What is the mission? Well, to contact a brown space egg. And the story lost me here when I've seen this episode for the first time as a kid, and it lost me here now when I rewatched the episode for this video. The space egg is probably a spaceship, but it also might be a living creature. And it's also parked near a star which is going to go supernova. Imagine that there is a building that should be imploded and somebody parks a car way too close to the building. So you have to go to the car and tell the driver that he should go park elsewhere. That's basically the plot of this episode. Not very exciting, is it? The writers or producers probably agreed, so they added some Romulans to the mix just for shits and giggles, as the Americans say, but they are absolutely pointless to the story. They should be a second ticking clock element in the script, I guess, but they're basically pointless. If you would cut them out of the story, it wouldn't have any effect. So yeah, this is the story. The Enterprise tries to get to the living spaceship, the so-called Tin Man, and they want to do it before the Romulans get there and before the star goes supernova. So the next couple of minutes are spent with scenes of people talking. Sometimes they're sitting and talking, other times they are standing and talking, and to mix it up a bit, in some scenes, actually one person is sitting and the other person is standing. So much excitement! Later in the third act, they finally encounter the Romulans, so I guess something exciting is about to happen? Right? Wrong. They just pretend to attack them, to distract them, because they want to get to Tin Man before the Enterprise. But when they finally arrive there, they want to destroy it. Or him. Sorry, but Tin Man doesn't have a Twitter account, so I don't know which pronouns I am allowed to use. Wow, I'm so funny I could write for Star Trek Lower Decks. So, when Tem finds out the Romulans want to destroy Tin Man, he sends him or it a telepathic message that the Romulans are dangerous, and Tin Man destroys their ship. As we later find out, Tin Man is thousands of years old. He thinks he's the last one of his species, so he wants to commit suicide. That's why he parked near an exploding star. He's also in a long-range telepathic contact with Tam. So after the destruction of the first Romulan ship, another Romulan ship appears, and they again want to destroy the Tin Man, called GOM-2. Tam and Data beam inside of GOM-2, and he/it tries to send all of its information directly to Tam's brain, which forces Tam to collapse for a moment, but very soon he recovers, and we see that GOM-2 has chosen Tam to be his new pilot. GOM-2 produces a huge energy wave. They throw both the Enterprise and the Romulan ship far away, and then the star goes supernova. For a moment, the Enterprise crew thinks that Data is dead, but he appears on the bridge, completely unharmed, because the ship creature also had a transporter or something. And that's the end of this confusing episode. This is not really a proper Star Trek story. It was written as a short story called Tin Woodman back in 1976 by Dennis Russell Bailey and David Bischoff. They have later rewritten it to a proper novel in 1979, and they have, together with Lisa Putman White, adapted it for Star Trek The Next Generation. The fact that this didn't start as a Star Trek story could explain why it feels wrong for this show, but that's what the writing staff should take care of. During the first season, Gene Roddenberry rewrote every single script, and as David Gerrold said, he could take a bad script and turn it into a good one, but he also could take a great script and turn it into a good one. Later, when Roddenberry's health prevented him from being the head of everything, and most of his duties were split between Rick Berman and whoever was the story editor that year, in the case of season 3, Michael Piller, staffers and oftentimes the story editor himself were rewriting scripts to make them fit better to the Star Trek format. This episode, however, looks like it was written completely by these 3 people who were completely new to the franchise. At least officially, I haven't found any proof of anybody else being involved in the writing, and you can clearly feel that it doesn't really fit. There are so many things which are setups, but the episode delivers no payoffs, which makes sense if these things were taken over from the short story or from the novel. I don't know, I haven't read any of them. Many of the ideas this show introduces are fascinating, like the idea of a thing which is both a living creature and a spaceship, or a man who is for his whole life bombarded by thoughts of every person around him. And all of these things would be great if they were developed into movies, but here they didn't do anything really interesting with them. Don't get me wrong, it's visually interesting. I would even go as far as to say that the visual effects are absolutely amazing, even though some of them are reused from other episodes. But this is the problem. The effects are the only thing I could actually remember from this episode. They're the only thing which gets stuck in your head. And that's a bad thing, because Star Trek was never about effects. It was about the characters and the ideas. And this episode is the worst thing a Star Trek story can be. It's boring. On my standard scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is complete garbage, 10 is a masterpiece, and 5 is just average, I would give this episode 4 out of 10. Fascinating ideas, beautiful effects, wonderful music, but that's it. Anyway, as always, these were all of just my opinions. Please let me know what did you think about this episode. Did you love it, hate it, or do you agree with my below average rating? Let me know what did you think down in the comment section, and I really have to speed this up and do at least one video each week, because soon enough we will have the 30th anniversary of season 4 and I have still 7 episodes of season 3 to cover. So in the next couple of weeks expect these videos to be slightly shorter, but hopefully a bit more often. So again, thank you very much for watching and see you soon. Bye.